All right, today on the Vince Everett Ellison Show, we're going to talk about D.E.I, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how the Democrats are going to use it as a Trojan horse to control the black community and the minority communities here in America. Today on the Vince Everett Ellison Show. All right, let's get this thing started. Today we're going to talk about D.E.I. Yeah, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Or maybe it should be discrimination, exclusion, and inequality. Because that's exactly what it is. Tell me something. Is there anything to be learned from the second kick of the mule? You kick you in the face, bam, kick you in the face, bam, that hurt, kick you in the face again, bam. A person that does that, something's wrong with them, right? They're gluttony for punishment, they're crazy or something. Mule just keep kicking them, bam, he keep putting his face down there and letting the mule kick him, bam, bam, bam. Is there anything to be learned from the old saying from the Iliad? Beware of Greeks bearing gifts. Yeah, it came from the Greeks, the Trojan horse, going into Troy, Greeks hidden inside. They jump out, destroy the city, kill everybody. It just says don't accept gifts from your enemies. That's what that is. Is there anything to be learned from the old saying that some people say is attributed to Albert Einstein? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. I would say there's something to be learned from all of those. Oh, but not the black community, especially not black Democrats. Black Democrats got to be some of the stupidest people that ever walked the face of this earth. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out, I think to call black Democrats stupid would be an insult to stupid people. Because here we are again, after 220 years of white Democrats treating you like a dog, beating the hell out of you, discriminating against you, slapping you around. I mean, the party of slavery, the party of the Confederacy, the party of Jim Crow, now the party of transgenderism and abortion up to the 9th month, taking your guns away. Fentanyl and allowing illegals across the border replacing you. Allowing drag queens to go into schools and shake their behinds in your children's faces. Taking God out of the public square, out of schools, allowing porn in the school, in the library. Taking the Bible out. That party. The ones that control every ghetto, every whorehouse, every failing school. Oh man, good God. That party is going to come up to you and say, let us go into your community and decide who will be elevated. And we're going to call it D.E.I. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. And you say, yeah, that's a good idea, boss. We're going to let you come in and decide who our leadership is going to be. Y'all, they've been doing that for over 220 years. During the plantation days in the antebellum South, they called it the House Negro. White slave master decided which black slaves he was going to allow to come work in the house. And the one requirement is that the slave that he allowed to come work in the house is going to be the slave that's working for him and will keep the rest of the slaves under his control. That was it. They were working hand in glove to keep the rest of the black people down. Here's the difference, though. Back on the plantation system, the black slaves knew it. That's why they called them house Negroes. They knew who they were, and they didn't like them. Didn't trust them. Man, they had more sense, the slaves had more sense than black people got now. They recognized them. And now they're still doing it. And even after 220 years of it, black people at the bottom of every social economic statistic in America, and now they're saying we want to do it, and they want to give it another name, and we say, yeah, let's do it. Y'all, this is the equivalent of Hitler, of the Jews allowing Hitler to choose their leadership. It's the equivalent of chickens allowing Colonel Sanders to choose their leadership. Do you not understand that the man who believes that he is free and the man that believes that he is a slave are both correct? A free man would never allow his enemy to choose his leadership. He would say, we to choose our leaders. Man, get out of here. For you to even walk up here and tell us that is ridiculous. Get out of here. So why is DEI bad? Well, I'll tell you what it did do. It gave us that little ugly black woman down at Harvard. What's her name? Claudine Gay. And when they asked her a simple question, that's a simple question. Yeah, is it okay to be going around Harvard saying you want to kill Jews? That's the GED question. She said, according on the context. The context? The context? You talking about killing Jews, man? The answer to this question is no. She said, it's according on the context. And they still tried to keep her at Harvard until the people decided they would pull all the money back. Then they said, well, you got to go. She still got a job there making $900,000 a year, I think. What did DEI get us? It got us KBJ. Who is that? Ketanji Brown Jackson. Harvard educated. The first black female on the Supreme Court. Hoorah! Ketanji Brown gets up there. Marsha Blackburn, Senator from Tennessee. You know, Ketanji Brown Jackson been walking around bragging, strutting, screaming from the mountaintops. I'm the first black woman on the Supreme Court. First black woman on the Supreme Court. Give it to me, give it to me. I'm the first black woman on the Supreme Court. Well, Senator Marsha Blackburn asked her another GED question. She said, Judge Brown Jackson, yes. Can you tell me what a woman is? Ketanji said, I'm not a biologist. Now, the follow-up question that I would have asked, I said, well, you've been running around saying you're the first black woman on the Supreme Court. How do you know that if you don't know what a woman is? Y'all see where I'm going with this? That's the type of ignorant person that DEI gives you. A person that don't know that it's a bad thing to kill Jews, and a person that don't know what a woman is. Nevertheless, black folks and America and white liberals say we're going to give you DEI. Now, why would they do that? Well, they said they want to include people, you know, and all that kind of stuff. I'll tell you what DEI stands for. See if I can find it real quick, because they have a real nice little definition of DEI. And let me see. DEI stands for, well, give me a minute. I'll find it in just a second. DEI stands for, all right. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is a term used to describe policies and programs that promote the representation and participation of different groups of individuals. DEI encompasses people of different ages, races, ethnicities, abilities, disabilities, genders, religions, cultures, and sexual orientations. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is a term used to describe policies and programs that promote the representation and participation of different groups of individuals. Ain't it something that didn't say anything about ability? See, DEI didn't put Patrick Mahomes on the football field for Kansas City when he drove them when he drove down that field in overtime, scored that touchdown. and made the Kansas City Super Bowl champs. And D.E.I. had nothing to do with that. D.E.I. didn't produce Michael Jordan. They call him air, could fly through the sky and just slam dunk a basketball. D.E.I. didn't produce it. D.E.I. didn't produce Muhammad Ali. Them brothers earned it. That's why they're going to be legendary. They earned it. It's amazing D.E.I. didn't say anything about earning. He didn't say anything about being the best. He didn't say anything about ability. He said participation. That means the DEI has nothing to do with ending discrimination. DEI has everything to do with controlling discrimination. They want to decide. They want to be able to discriminate. They want to be able to include or exclude who they choose. And when they go to make the decision, you think they're going to get Malcolm X or step and fetch it. And y'all are going to fall for it. Now, why would you fall for such a thing? Why? Why would an intelligent group of people fall for such ignorance and such dribble? I'm going to give you, there's a scientific term for it. It's pretty interesting. I'm going to hip y'all to it. Maybe I've heard of it. It's called the sunk cost fallacy. Sunk cost fallacy. S-U-N-K-C-O-S-T fallacy. Let me tell you what it means. The sunk cost fallacy is a phenomenon whereby a person is reluctant to abandon a strategy or course of action because they have invested heavily in it, even when it is clear that abandonment would be more beneficial. I put so much time, so much effort, so much money, so much bleeding, so much dying into this. Can't let it go. Bad relationship. Oh, dude just beating the hell out you. I can't let him go. I done put too much money into it. Too much time. A house. Just rotten to the core, foundation bad, roof leaking, but you sunk all your money into it. You can't let it go. It's a law called the law of diminishing returns. When you start losing more than you're gaining from a situation. And that's exactly where we are. The sunk cost fallacy and the law of diminishing returns are now coming right here together in a collision course in Black America and America. We are supposed to say, as a nation and as a people, we can't ride this train with you no longer. We're not wasting any more time and any more money on these stupid ideas. You know why you shouldn't? Because the Democratic Party bought it to you. I mean, look. The Democratic Party is the party of the Ku Klux Klan, the party of the red shirts. Let me tell you what the Democratic Party did to black people, man, just in case y'all don't know. Let me educate you a little bit, because I know y'all going to say Vince lying. Vince tripping. Vince tripping. Oh, y'all talking about the Democratic Party, how bad they are. He don't know what he's talking about. I ain't got a big mouth, you make me sick. All right, y'all ever heard of the Mississippi Plan? Probably not, because you went to the public educational system. I did too, but I decided to educate myself and go upon a path of self-improvement. So I started reading things that the Democrats told me not to read. Got pretty smart. All right, the Mississippi Plan. Pay attention. The Mississippi Plan of 1874, so 1874 means this was 9 years after the Civil War, was developed by white Southern Democrats as a part of the white insurgency during the Reconstruction era in the Southern United States. It was devised by the Democrat Party in the state of Mississippi to overthrow the Republican Party by means of organized threats of violence and suppression or purchase, that means buying, of the black vote. Well, looky here. Buying the black vote. Democrats wanted to regain political control of the legislature and the governor's office. Their success in doing so led to similar plans being adopted by white Democrats in South Carolina and other majority black states. See, after the Civil War, a lot of the white men had been killed in the Civil War. So a lot of the southern states were majority black. Yes, they were. South Carolina had 3 times more black people. Mississippi had 2 times more. Alabama and Georgia were almost cut down the middle along with Louisiana. So yeah, there were a lot of black people down south. But the white folks, the white Democrats, took control of them with this Mississippi plan. To end election violence and ensure that freedmen were excluded from politics, the Democrat-dominated state legislatures passed new constitutions in 1890, which effectively disenfranchised and disarmed most blacks by erecting barriers to voting registration and firearm ownership. Oh, looky here, looky here, looky here. What did the Democrats do when they got power? Disarmed black men. Why would they do that, you think? Why would they do something like that? Disenfranchisement was enforced through terrorist violence. Yeah, the Democratic Party was terrorists and fraud. And most black people stopped trying to vote or register to vote. They did not regain the power to vote until the late 1960s. That's the party that's offering you D.E.I. And there's nothing changed under the sun, y'all. They still buy the black vote. How do they do it? Street money, souls to the polls, bottle of liquor and a pork chop sandwich. They still intimidate. They still get the black preacher, the black politician, and the black civil rights workers to go out there and hand out money all on election day. Y'all know it. Y'all see it. They still purchase it through intimidation, through bribes, through fraud, ballot harvesting, ballot stuffing, mail-in ballots. None of it can be checked. So there's no way to vote for fraud. There's no way to catch fraud. If you send in a ballot that doesn't require any type of ID, how are you going to check to see if there was fraud? No signature verification. How do you check for fraud? It's an impossibility. That party, the Democratic Party, the party that controls your educational system, where 85% of the children can't read or do math. Yeah, that party, the party that has you poor, the poorest people in America, that's taking your guns away, that destroy the black family, that's got food deserts and crime and fighting and hell raising, who've been promising you reparations for 200 years, who's taking God out the public square. That party's gonna come and say, let us choose the leaders to elevate in your community. And you are stupid enough to accept it. Oh, man. It is a sick mind that wants to be somewhere where they're not wanted. It's a sick mind that wants to be included amongst a number of people that despise you. How's that been working out for you? It's time for you to understand this. You are an heir of Jesus Christ. You're a child of God. You don't have to beg for anything. You don't have to ask for DEI. You don't have to ask for affirmative action. You don't have to ask to be included. The Bible tells us when Jesus sent out his disciples, he said, if any town rejects these teachings, shake the dust off your feet. And it'll be better for that town. It'll be worse for that town than it was for Sodom and Gomorrah. Don't run after them. Shake the dust off your feet. Bye. Let me give you the remedy to DEI and affirmative action and all of this Democrat Party foolishness. You may have heard me say this before. I'm going to say it again. It bears repeating. In Genesis, 4th chapter, 7th verse, Cain was angry with his brother, Abel. And why was Cain angry? He was angry because Abel had produced an offering so nice that God accepted Abel's offering. Cain's offering was so jacked up, God rejected Cain's offering. And Cain was mad at Abel, his brother. Now, isn't that interesting? He wasn't mad at God. He's mad at Abel. So mad at Abel, he was standing there contemplating killing him. God tried to get to Cain and talk some sense into him, and he gave him an insight in how he had the human mind wired up. And he said to Cain, Cain, why are you angry? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you don't do well, sin waits at the door to master you, but you must master it. Man, did you hear that? Lord have mercy. If you do well, will you not be accepted? Y'all, I'm going to tell you something. I've lived a pretty long time. I have never, ever heard anything so true in my life. I have seen people, black and white, that did well and were respected everywhere they went. Didn't matter, did well. And I've seen those black or white, Jew, Gentile, who did not do well and were just like Cain. Cain did not take God's advice. He went and killed his own brother and had to wander the earth for the rest of his life. Black Lives Matter, Antifa, NAACP, black preachers, black politicians, black civil rights organizations haven't done well. And sin has mastered them. Reprobate minds out there tearing up their own neighborhoods, burning up their own mama's houses, destroying themselves. Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. So, listen to this now. The way you love your neighbor is predicated on self-love, how you love yourself. If you hate yourself, you're going to hate your neighbor. So when you see a person out there burning up his grandmama's house, tearing up his own neighborhood, burning up his own neighborhood, it comes from self-hate. Self-hate comes from you going to your enemy, asking them to decide who's elevated in your community. Because self-hate is a type of insanity. Who taught you to hate yourself, as Malcolm X said, from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet? It was a black Democrat that did it. Story about Martin Luther King Jr. I read in his book, Words That Work. And Larry King, the old CNN host, was telling this story to Frank Lutz, who wrote the book. And Larry King had done thousands of interviews. Frank Lutz asked him a question, said, what is your most memorable interview, Larry? And Larry said, Martin Luther King Jr., 1961. And Frank Lutz said, Martin Luther King, man, what was going on? So Larry King said, I was a young reporter, got a call from Martin Luther King Jr.'s agent. He said, King was going to be down in Tallahassee, Florida, integrating an all-white hotel. He wanted me to cover it. So I flew down to Tallahassee, went into the lobby of the hotel, and lo and behold, here comes in Martin Luther King Jr. And King tells the clerk he wants a room. Clerk says no. King says, I'm not going to leave till I get a room. Clerk said, well, I'm going to call the police. King said, well, I'll wait for him. So when the police came there, they looked at King and said, well, what do you want? King didn't say anything. He said, what do you want? King didn't say anything. He said again, what do you want? And King said, I want my dignity. I hate that story. You know why? Because it basically says that some white man can give me my dignity. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., most important black man in America, allowed a $1 an hour clerk to take his dignity. When Jesus Christ gave me my dignity, you can't have my dignity. Nobody can take it from me. That was the difference between him and Muhammad Ali. He said, you can take everything from me, but you can't take away my dignity. He's the one that said, they ask us to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. Well, how can we pull ourselves up by our bootstraps when we're bootless? He's the one that said, I'm walking around dreaming about a day that I won't be judged by the color of my skin. What you doing, King? I'm dreaming about a day that the white folks won't judge me by the color of my skin. That's about the stupidest thing I've ever heard of in my life, because our Bible tells us we're not to be concerned about how we're viewed by man, only about how we're viewed by God. If you don't like me or the color of my skin, that's your problem. You put your hands on me, you won't have another one. But that is a D.E.I. person put in charge of the black community. They chose him. Who chose him? Stanley Levinson, a communist, Bayard Rustin, a communist, the Kennedys, who were Democrats. They chose him. And he let black people get beat down, slapped around, begging, stalking, aggravating people. And what did it do? Did it help? Nah. We're at the same spot we've always been in. And look at who they're choosing now. If you want to know just how much you are disrespected by white liberals, all you got to do is look on MSNBC and look at Al Sharpton. That's the person they chose to be the quote-unquote leader of black America. He's still wearing a conch, and the conch went out when David Ruffin left the Temptations back in the 1960s. He's still wearing it. Still pressing his hair with a hot comb. Look like a damn fool. Got 40 years of lying, race baiting, fighting, burning up stuff, lying. Word is out, he was a dope dealer on the streets, selling dope in the black community. That's what they say. I wasn't there. Say he was an FBI informant. Now he's a black leader. Yeah, look at Jim Clyburn. So ignorant, he can probably hardly put two sentences together, but that's who they want. If you set them all down together and ask them how many books they've read, they probably have read 1.5 amongst all of them together. And it's probably the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx. The most ignorant, the stupidest group of malcontents you ever seen in your life. They all rule over ghettos. And they walk around strutting. The worst group of leaders in the history of the world. People at the bottom of every socioeconomic statistic in America. Schools are the worst in America. The neighborhoods are worst in America. Nevertheless, they in charge. That's DEI. That's who they're going to put in charge every single time. If you want a perfect example of DEI and what it's going to bring the black community, you look at the Black Caucus. It's a crying shame. All of them have a combined IQ of about 50. And you ask any of them, what is the best piece of legislation that you've ever put forward? They're going to say something about giving away free stuff. The people that won't work. That's DEI. People, we're better than this. DEI is like asking the Dallas Cowboys to choose the roster for the Pittsburgh Steelers in the game they're going to play against them next week. Guess who the Dallas Cowboys are going to choose? The worst quarterback, the worst offensive line, the worst defense, so they can beat them. DEI is like the KKK choosing black leadership. Who you think they're going to choose, y'all? You got it. The socialists and the communists and the racists are choosing our leadership, y'all. Isn't it obvious? Don't fall for the DEI trap. When you see Greeks bearing gifts, when you see the Ku Klux Klan coming in saying that this is the black person that we've chosen as our leader, and then people try to say, Vince Ellison working for the Republican, Vince Ellison working for the Republican. That is a lie. I am not a Republican. I don't work for the GOP. I'm the freest black man in America. I get up every morning when I want to get up. I go to bed when I want to go to bed. I work for myself. Nobody tells me what to do. Anybody telling you that is projecting. They're a slave, not me. I say what I want to say. I do what I want to do. So when you start saying he worked for the Republican Party, that is a lie. If Republicans buy my stuff, Democrats buy my stuff too. Everybody can buy my stuff. You can buy my books. Go online, VinceELlison.com. Buy my books. Buy my documentary. See what I'm talking about. I want you to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with all of your friends. Because I'm here to wake you up. The Democratic Party is an evil organization. And our President James A. Garfield says that a brave man looks the devil in the eye and calls him a devil. Well, I'm calling the Democratic Party and their leadership. I'm calling the leadership of the Democrat Party a pack of devils. And they will lead you straight to hell. They're already going. They already know it. They're just trying to now pull everybody down with them. I hope that I woke you up. I hope that I shook you a little bit today. Come and join me next week, because every week I'm going to bring the heat. Join me again next week on the Vince Ellison Show.